So welcome back to another video, folks. I'm Brendan from Blue Light, and here we are in London, and I've just completed an assessment centre seminar, but because it is March 2018 and because some of the clients here today are preparing for the Metropolitan Police Assessment Centre, one of the things that we've had to prepare for is the new style assessment centre, which involves interactive virtual reality exercises, interactive exercises with role players, written exercises, video-based exercises, and an interview. Now, there's not much known about this whole process, so one of the things that we've been covering today is some tools that might be able to support you in delivering a successful assessment centre for yourself and achieving a really high score. So, for those of you who are my clients out there, you're already aware of the CUTSA framework. So CUTSA is the way that you deal with any problems, any role plays, or any questions that would be along the lines of how would you deal with this kind of scenario, or anything that would be a virtual reality type exercise that involves another person and dealing with a conflict or problem situation with another person, as in the other person is the person who's the cause of the problem, or the other person is the person who has instigated the problem. So CUTSA will help you take care of that. But what do we do when we're faced with a scenario that could be you are faced with, or you're on patrol when you come across? Now, we battered around a few examples of that today, the sort of things that you may get. Like I said, I don't know that this is going to happen, but I think we're going to see a departure away from the Westshire Centre. And I think what most candidates will probably do is launch into how they would deal with something, how they would intend to deal with something, what action they would take. It's all too soon, folks, it's all too soon. So many of you may recognise this. It's an adapted version of the national decision model. So in all the examples that we used, invariably this involves a call that someone would have put into the police, or a situation that you come across, and it's not going to be something like a plane falling out of the sky or something serious. It's going to be an everyday type occurrence that you may come across as a police officer, or it may be that you have been sent to it by comms. So the first thing we need to do is collect information and intelligence about the scenario that we're dealing with. And that's going to involve you using your powers of observation and asking questions. Because the questions you ask will lead to you ascertaining the nature of the problem. You need to understand what you're dealing with before you can even start thinking about what action you're going to take. And so we explored that as well, about some of the really elegant questions that you might ask to ascertain the nature, the precise nature of the problem that you're faced with. And also where you may ask those questions from, so it's not just from the obvious person concerned. Then moving on to any sort of powers or tools or guidance they've given you, because I don't expect you'd need prior knowledge of being a police officer or any powers of arrest or powers of entry to be able to deal with any of these scenarios. That would be unfair for those people who haven't been special constables or PCSOs. But they may give you beforehand some form of guidance or policy on how you approach certain types of situations. Really important now that we go through some options and explaining your rationale for the one that you chose. So we battered around a few options that would apply to just about any type of scenario. Now we can talk about what action we would take and how we would go about doing it. Now, it's the how that's really important, and also on top of that, we've got to link in with the values. So the competency and values framework, which I believe the new assessment centre will be based on, is very much about assessing your values so that the police can then develop your competence. Whereas at the moment, I believe the assessment process assesses you for competence, or even learned competence, how you can play the game, a very formulaic process to achieve a pass at the assessment centre. And then I'm afraid the College of Policing Assessment Centre, in my opinion, is pretty much crossing your fingers and hoping for the best when it comes to whether you actually are capable of demonstrating the values that are expected of a police officer. So we also went into the values and how we can link those various values such as transparency, impartiality, integrity and such like into this particular model. So covered a lot there. There's a lot for people to get their heads around now, but I can pretty much promise you that this model, coupled with the way you're going to integrate the values into this model, will pretty much nail it on the day. So what next? Well, 1st of April is the new pilot for the assessment centre. Once it's been evaluated, I believe it will go live right across the country. At the moment, the Met Police and the College of Policing aren't revealing any information about what it involves. As soon as they do reveal information that's beyond, you're going to have an interview, an interactive exercise, a virtual reality exercise, get this, alongside another candidate, so that should be interesting. What happens if they're hopeless? There's got to be some safeguards against that. So it outlines the exercises that you're going to be doing over half a day, but it doesn't say anything about the context, whereas the current system does. It places you into the imaginary role of a customer services officer at an imaginary shopping centre. So really interesting stuff going on there, folks. I want to make sure that my clients have got the absolute edge here. And as soon as I can start preparing material for it, as soon as we know a little bit more about the context, should it be revealed, even if it isn't, I'm going to start preparing material for a new online course to make sure that my Metropolitan Police candidates nail it. Because one of the things is, I just don't believe the College of Policing and the Met Police in developing this new system will go far enough in really challenging your values. The desire is that this will be it. This is all you will need to do, this new assessment centre, and forces won't feel the need to add on separate assessment centres, mini assessment centres and final interviews. So I know a lot of forces are planning on removing their final interview. I'd be interested to see how this pans out, because once people start game playing this, and I'm quite sure they will be capable of game playing it, certainly if there's people like me around, and I will ethically show people how to game play it. One of the comments I often use is, I'm not going to do the work for you, I'll show you the way. You've got to do the work. You've got to do the practice of the skills that I show you, how to implement those skills in a variety of different scenarios. You've got to do that work in very much the same way you'd have to do that work if you're a police officer. You'd have to develop your communication skills. So I'm not going to give people answers, but I'm going to provide them with a formula which is tried and tested from the policing world to help you achieve a successful pass. So I hope you like this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, please do like away. And if you'd like to join my secret Facebook group of now over 3,200 members who are ethically supporting and guiding each other through the assessment process, recruitment process, please add a comment below and I will contact you and tell you what happens next to allow you access to that group. You can't find it, by the way. Unless you're a member of it, you can't find it. It doesn't exist unless you've been invited to it. Once you've been invited to it and you've accepted the invitation, it opens up in the left-hand bar on Facebook as one of the groups that you belong to. You can see who the members are and all the content that's in there, all the little bonus videos and such like I place in it, and little top tips that are ethical. I check to make sure they're ethical from its members. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to watch more of my videos as I release them. And again, below there in the blurb, there's a link to my Facebook page if you'd like to join that group. There's also a link, shameless plug here, to my courses, which will enable you to completely ace the recruitment process in terms of the assessment centre. Even this new version, I don't think it's going to take me long to be able to come up with, like I said, a variety of formulas to allow you to pass. No different from any other assessment centre. I've spoken to ACCs and Deputy Chief Constables who have told me how the assessment process to become a Chief Officer is, again, very formulaic. So the challenge for the police service is getting themselves out of this formulaic process and getting into something that's far more finding out who the real you is. See if you're investable. So until next time, folks, I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you've got some value out of it, and I shall catch up with you next time. Bye-bye now.